All right, back again with another recommendations video. This time, 10 PS2 games that I think are worth playing. Definitely worth playing. So this is not an expensive games to collect video. This is a fun games to play video. Right. Let's start off with a fighting game. This is Def Jam Fight for New York. Now, this is one of those games that I spent hundreds and hundreds of hours playing as a kid. A pretty well-known game because this has a lot of celebrities in it. So, as you can tell from the title, Def Jam Fight for New York, it's a game featuring a lot of Def Jam Records musicians. So, you have a list there of some of the people. There are some characters that have been created only for this game. So they aren't all real people, but many of them are. You even have the actor Omar Epps here, who's probably best known from the TV show House. It's very strange. Henry Rollins is also there. But yeah, I wanted to highlight this game because there aren't that many fighting games out there that have a proper single player mode, and this one has one of the most entertaining single player experiences I've ever had with a fighting game. So this is basically this is a street fighting game where you are mostly doing one-on-one, but also some free-for-all matches with multiple characters. And it is somewhat similar to the, let's say, WWF and WWE wrestling games, where you have a lot of special moves and you can map them into different buttons that you want to map them for. So you can press like square and up and you do like a special move from that. And it's very fun. Like it's just a fun fighting game. The single player storyline, it has a full-on story mode that you create a character in, and there are these two fighting factions of rap artists, and you are on one side of the fight, and lots of backstabbing and twists and turns in the story. It's very entertaining, and yeah, it plays great. It has great action, great characters, just a fun time. So Def Jam Fight for New York. A lot of people probably skipped that whole series because it has this hip-hop music angle to it. A lot of people probably don't really vibe with that. But I think it's worth checking out even if you don't like hip-hop music, because it's just a ridiculously fun game to play. Now, next up, I decided to go with a racing game. I picked one for the PS3 video. I also did pick one for the PS2 video. So this is Flat Out by Bugbear, who is a Finnish game developer. Now, I would have liked to pick the second game, Flat Out 2, but I didn't have it in the collection, so I can't pick that one. I played the second one on a PC. Yeah, the first one is really good as well. So I could, it's a coin flip. You can pick either one. These are like demolition derby racing games. And one of the most impressive things about these games are the demolition effects. All of the cars can be completely and utterly wrecked. And it also has this mechanic where if you crash your car, you get thrown out of the windshield. The driver, and you have to watch your driver character getting flung out of the car and just bouncing around, ragdolling around the track before you are allowed to respawn. That's really fun. And this also has some really interesting mini games that use this. For example, throwing your driver out through the windshield mechanic, so you can do long jumps and high jumps and everything with the ragdoll physics. That's really fun as well. I don't remember if this one on the PC had a multiplayer mode, like online multiplayer. It obviously has split screen here on PS2, but I remember one of the Flatout games having a really good online multiplayer as well. So yeah, there's Flat Out, definitely worth checking out. Next up, a Japanese game. This is Genji. I have this really beat up slipcover edition of it. And this is a samurai action game. I was extremely positively surprised by this game when I played it like years and years and years ago. I wasn't expecting much out of it, because usually these types of like 3D samurai action games from the PS2 era are pretty mediocre. But I think Genji is by far the best of the bunch. It has a very engaging storyline, multiple playable characters, really fun action, and interesting boss fights, as you can see from the back cover there. Do it like sideways because I can't fit it on a screen. Very interesting stuff. Yeah, one of the playable characters is I think it's Benkei, the warrior monk. It's the bald guy. Yeah, that's my favorite. So yeah, Genji. If you're looking for a third-person action game, like a hack and slash action game, Genji is a good one. Now, a PS2 recommendation video cannot be made without Klonoa, so I have to include Klonoa 2 here, right? This did recently get the PS4 and PS5 release, which is fantastic, but yeah, Klonoa, no matter how many times these games are released, people always overlook this series. Like, this is some of the best stuff on the system, some of the best PS2 games. One of the best PS2 games. There is only one Klonoa game on the PS2. Yeah, Lunatas Veil, the 2D platformer, very endearing, great voice acting. The made-up language is hilarious that they use here. Just an all-around fun time. So if you still haven't checked out Klonoa, after all the years of people calling the Klonoa series underrated and being hidden gems and everything, do yourself a favor, grab the PS5 collection of Klonoa, Door to Phantom Isle, and Klonoa 2 Lunatas Veil, and try it out. The PS2 version is quite expensive to get still, but yeah, definitely worth playing. Next up, for something completely different, I decided to go with Mercenaries, which is a open world, let's say a semi-open world. It's not really like open world in the same sense as a GTA, because it is set on this island, and it is quite a restricted area that you are in, and it's like a tropical island, so there's a lot of forests and everything that you go to. Yeah, but Mercenaries, Playground of Destruction. This series is quite like a forgotten series. There were 2 games and then it disappeared. Or maybe 3. Maybe there were 3 games, I can't remember. Yeah. Developed by Pandemic, released by LucasArts. It's an open world action game where you work as mercenaries trying to hunt down terrorists, basically. And the terrorists are... there's like a deck of cards where every card in a deck is a target that you have to kill. So you go through this deck of cards trying to kill all the people, or trying to eliminate all the targets. And it's a really fun turn your brains off action game. Right. And I also had to go with one licensed game. So again, I tried to pick out games that are quite different from one another. So this is a licensed game, Scarface, The World Is Yours. Probably one of the best licensed games of this generation. I also have a second one actually here. I have a second licensed game here as well, which is also a movie tie-in. So this is based on the 1980s Scarface, the Brian De Palma Scarface. So not the original one from the 1930s or 40s or whenever it was released. And it does have the likeness of Al Pacino, the main character. And yeah, I mean, this is a GTA clone with Al Pacino, Scarface as the main character. It's ridiculous and it's really good. It's a really well made GTA clone. Probably the best GTA clone out there in terms of how much there is to do. The Miami that's recreated here is really fun. It's a really fun open world. The storyline takes you into many different places actually. So there isn't only just one map. So yeah, the game is quite large. Lots of things to do. Scarface, the world is yours. Then I have four more games here. Now, just like Klonoa, if there is a PS2 video, recommendation video, I cannot omit Tenchu. So Tenchu also has to be mentioned. This is Wrath of Heaven. Many people know the original game and the second game on a PS1, but my favorite has always been the third one, so Tenchu Wrath of Heaven. There's also another one on the PS2, but let's forget about that one. There's also a PSP game, but let's not talk about that one either. And this is a series that has been gone for a long time, and I am trying to manifest into reality this series being brought back. I'm hoping that if I mention this game series enough times, a new Tenchu game is announced and it's good. So this is a ninja stealth game with some supernatural elements. Very good level design. I absolutely love the levels. It takes a talented guy to make a cavern level interesting. There are so many gorgeous locations here with these massive limestone caverns and waterfalls and these old samurai era towns and everything. It looks great. The music is so good. It's so good, and the stealth action as well. Like everything about this game is just quality. Everything about it. So I'm hoping for a return of Tenchu at some point. Now, for another licensed game, I decided to go with Rockstar's The Warriors. Now, Rockstar is obviously one of the best known developers in video game history because of GTA and many other great games. But The Warriors is kind of a game that has fallen through the cracks. It is one of my favorite Rockstar games, absolutely. And the movie that this is based on, I recently rewatched it. So it's Walter Hill's The Warriors, and the movie has held up incredibly well. I thought it was fantastic. It's a fantastic 80s, very atmospheric and dark, like action movie, crime movie, and the game perfectly encapsulates the style of the original movie. It's a very atmospheric and dark game, like I mentioned, deals with these gangs that are all gathering in this one massive event, and then the leader of all the gangs, like the top guy, gets assassinated during the event, and you are the warriors who are then accused falsely of the killing, and everyone is out to get you, so you have to escape the event and try to get back to your own turf in what was it, Coney Island in New York. And yeah, such a fantastic game. It's a brawler. It's a brawler beat 'em up game. The whole game can be played as a couch co-op. The single player, like the story, can be played as couch co-op, which is fantastic, and a high recommendation for both the movie and the game. Right. Next up, I decided to go with a first-person shooter. This is Urban Chaos Riot Response, developed by Rocksteady, who would later create the Batman Arkham games on the PS3. So a great developer. Now, Urban Chaos Riot Response, this is a first-person shooter where you, surprise, surprise, control a riot police officer. And there are all of these violent protests and gang attacks going on around the city, and you have to respond to those calls. And yeah, you are in each level evaluated on how well you did as well, which makes replaying the levels pretty fun as well. For a PS2 era first-person shooter, I think the controls are incredible. This controls so well. I think I played this maybe 3 or 4 years ago for the first time, and I was blown away by the controls, how responsive the controls were. The frame rate and the controls, like there aren't that many PS2 era first-person shooters that I would recommend like wholeheartedly, but Urban Chaos Riot Response is definitely one of those. Lots of great gameplay here. And then lastly, I decided to go with another Japanese deep cut. This is the original Way of the Samurai. Now, this as a pick is probably the most controversial on this list because I don't think the game even is that good. Honestly, all of the other ones here, if you just go through this list, these are just fantastic games from top to bottom. Way of the Samurai is probably the weakest of the bunch, but it is such an interesting experience and interesting experiment that I had to pick it. So this is a choose your own adventure third-person action game. Beating the game once only takes, depending on what choices you make, it only takes like an hour to get through it. But if you just play it once, you haven't experienced even half of the game. There are so many different pathways you can take, so many different endings, and it's very interesting. The gameplay itself is okay, it's serviceable, it's very slow paced, like one-on-one sword fights for the most part. And some of the fights are quite difficult as well. But yeah, the Way of the Samurai series itself is just a strange curiosity. There are so many games. So there are like 4 or 5 games in this series, and nobody talks about them. Some of the later games are probably much better than this first one, but I just decided to pick this one just to raise some awareness for this weird Japanese game series. All right, so that was 10 PS2 games that I think are worth highlighting and playing. Some of these are quite well known, like The Warriors, obviously, and even something like Def Jam Fight for New York, but just trying to raise some awareness still, trying to revive some of these games. If you find something interesting here, try to look for a way to play them. I'm sure many of them are available on the PC as well. And I don't think there are really that many expensive games here. Clonoa 2 is probably the most expensive one here. All the other ones should be quite easy to get. Right, so yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll be back with something else in a couple of days. Bye.